Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we will be discussing some more questions on Para Summary, which are generally asked in CAT and other management entrance examinations. We have already discussed a lot of questions and techniques on Para Summary in the previous videos. So if you are a person who's watching this channel for the first time, I would suggest that you go back to the previous videos and watch those first and then come back to this video so that your understanding is perfect and you don't have any problem in comprehending the techniques. And for the people who are generally regularly watching this, the concepts and the techniques remain the same. Only the complexity of the questions may vary from one exercise to the next. But if you have mastered the technique, then the complexity is not should not be a problem for you. You will be able to easily find out the answer without any problem once you apply the techniques. So we will straight away go to the questions. This is question number one. Take some time to read it carefully, then go through the options again carefully and find the best option, that is the correct summary of the passage. Nested within one another means included within one another, means one circle is included in another circle. So you can see a set of concentric circles, you can say. Then warily, very cautiously. All right. By reading the context of the passage, you can understand that this passage is talking about a particular phenomenon that is common to all wild animals. All of them have developed a system or a technique where the area around their perimeter is divided to different zones, and if any predator or any potential threat is perceived by the animal, if that threat is beyond the first line of defense, which is called the flight distance. If it is beyond it, then the animal will not be doing anything. It will be only cautious. It will not do anything. It will not try to run away. But once that flight distance is crossed by the attacker or the predator, then the animal will try to run away. It will have the flight response. Flight response means a reaction to flee. Flee means to run away. So that will be there. But if that animal is crossing the second layer of defense, which is another circle within the outer circle, that is called the what is it called, the defense circle or the defense distance. So first one is the flight distance. So if that line is crossed, then the animal will start running away from the attacker. And if the closer still is the defense distance. So if that defense distance is crossed, what it will the animal will do? The animal will not try to run away. It will try to attack the predator, or it will try to there will not be any fleeing. It will in fact be attacking the predator. And finally, there is the critical distance or the nearest point of defense of an animal. And if this point is crossed by the attacker, then there is nothing to do for the prey, which is the what they it will either play dead or freeze. It will freeze means it will stand still, or it will try to act as if it is dead and hope that the predator will ignore this particular dead animal. So that is what the animal will do. So this kind of response is there, and these different species of wild animals have different limits. So even the all animals have this particular technique, but the distances or the distance, what is the weather meters, or it is all can be measured down to a matter of centimeters it is given. So what is that centimeter is dependent on the animal or the species. So all different species of animals have different kind of distances for flight, defense as well as critical, but within a species the say distances will be same. Means within, if we are talking about zebras, all zebras will have a similar flight distance, a similar defense distance, and a similar critical distance. This is what is given, and it is consistent within a species. And he also said give a definition of what is a tame animal, means a domestic animal. So from this he derived a definition of a domestic animal, an animal which is not perceiving humans as any threat. So what they will do, they will not have any flight distance as far as humans are concerned, because they will not consider humans as a threat. So they will not run away if a human is approaching that animal. So that is why their flight distance for humans is zero. So these are the things given. Now going to the options regarding the summary. Option A, according to Heidegger, the definition of a tame animal is one that has a zero flight distance from human threats. Yes, this is correct. As per the passage, the tame animal's definition is one that does not have any flight distance from a human being. So this is a true statement. So probable answer. Option B, Heidegger concludes that the flight reaction of humans from potential threats is similar to that of other animals and is consistent within the species. Means even human beings have this kind of flight distances and similar to other animals, and it is consistent within the species. Is it correct? The passage is only talking about wild animals. The passage is not saying anything about whether flight reaction is there for humans or not, and if it is there, what is the distance for flight, defense, critical, etc., it is not given. So the passage is not at all discussing about humans. We don't know anything about the flight reaction of humans. So this is a wrong statement. It cannot be a summary. Option C, Heidegger's findings indicate that the tolerance levels of systematic flight response vary between different species. What is this tolerance level? The limit beyond which the animal will try to either flee or defend or play dead. That is called the limits. So the tolerance levels means the limits of systematic flight response vary between different species. It is given here. Different species of wild animals have different limits. So that is already that is true of wild animals, while they remain similar within a species. That also is given here. They are remarkably consistent within a species. So within a species, the distances will remain the same, but among different species, the distances will vary. So that is a true statement again. So this again is a probable answer. Option D, Heidegger observes that an animal's flight reaction is directly proportional to the distance of the potential threat. Means what? Flight reaction means reaction to flee or the urge to flee, or their when they will flee, it is directly proportional to the distance. So what is the meaning? If the attacker is at a higher distance, the flight reaction will be more. The animal will try to flee more, and if the attacking or the predator is coming nearer, the flight reaction will be less. Means the animal will not be fleeing. That is what is given in the passage, right? The passage says that when the attacker is in the within flight distance, the animal will flee. If the attacker crosses the flight distance and enters the defense distance, the animal will not flee. It will try to attack. And if it crosses again the critical distance, it will again not flee. It will try to play dead. So this is why the distance and flight reaction is proportional. Flight reaction means reaction to flee, not to fight or not to play dead. It is reaction to flee. So if the distance becomes less, the reaction of fleeing also becomes less. So this is true. So this again is a true statement. So we have three probable answers, only one we are able to eliminate. Now out of the three, which is the best answer? So again, we go back to the basics. We go back to the theory that we have applied in many instances in the past. When you have one or more than one probable answers to a para summary question, you have to select the one which is the best summary, which contains more information about the passage. That is the best answer. So more information is given in which option? option C, because this option A is only talking about the definition of a tame animal, which is a supplementary idea. After saying all these things, he is saying that a tame animal is one which has a flight distance of 0. So this is again a supplementary idea, not the main idea, so you can ignore it. Option C, it talks about the tolerance levels of systematic flight response. Means from this we can understand that the all wild animals have a flight response system, but the tolerance levels are varying. So whatever is stated in option D is already included in option C, because option C, D is also talking about the flight response. So and it says that it is directly proportional to distance. Even though C is not talking about the proportionality of distance, it is saying that all wild animals have a systematic flight response system, and it varies between different species while remaining similar within a species. So this part of the statement, which is the important part of the statement in D, is already contained in option C, and option C also tells you some more information about the passage. That is why you will not choose D as an answer, even though D is a correct statement. C is the best answer, because we have to find the best one that captures the essence. So best one means anything, any summary or option that contains the maximum information regarding the passage without losing the focus of the passage. That is the best summary. So here option C should be the best summary, because it gives you the maximum information or the important information regarding the passage, and the key information regarding systematic flight response of wild animals are also given in option C. So D is included in C, so C should be the best answer for this particular para summary question. I hope you have understood the technique here. The questions are all slightly complex. I have not selected any simple questions. Simple questions will not be discussed in the exercises from now on. We'll only be discussing the complex questions, which are generally asked in all management entrance examinations. Simple questions will not be asked, so we will not waste our time in discussing simple questions. We will only discuss CAT level questions. Okay, go to the next one. Exemplified means illustrated. All right. So the passage is may appear to be slightly tough, but if you read it maybe two times, you will understand that it is talking about two essays written by George Orwell and Edmund Wilson about Charles Dickens and his literary works. So these two essays were written by these two people, and they appeared in 1940. And these two essays, dealt with the two different aspects of Dickens' literary works. George Orwell was more concerned with Dickens' political and social stances, whereas Edmund Wilson was more interested in what emotional and psychic and the duality of it. So Edmund Wilson was more interested or more involved in dealing with the psychic and duality of Dickens' vision of life. Duality means double-sided, double nature, or two-faced nature of Dickens' vision of life. So the Dickens might be having a vision of life which is having a duality or two-faced nature. So this is what Wilson was focusing on, whereas Orwell was more interested in the political and social stances while also responsive to the genius of writing. So he was not just interested in the political and social stances of Dickens, because the reason is also given here, because Dickens was a very savage critic on institutions like parliament. So Dickens did not believe in the institutions of democracy like parliament and all. He was criticizing it. So George Orwell was focusing more on such things, but he was also responsive to the genius of the writing of Dickens, while Wilson was more interested in the emotional, psychic, and the double-natured stance of Dickens' vision of life. Both critics, however, writing 70 years after his death, means after the Dickens, both these two essays came out 70 years after the death of Charles Dickens. They were not merely proclaiming but assuming his greatness. This is an important statement. What is the meaning? Means they were not just saying that Charles Dickens was great, they actually believed that he was great. That is the meaning of this particular expression. They were not merely proclaiming but assuming his greatness. Means they were not just saying that Charles Dickens was a great writer. They really believed in the greatness of Charles Dickens. That is why both of them acknowledged through their essays the intellectual and artistic merit reflected by the complexity and depth of Dickensian writing. Means both of them understood and they acknowledged that the intellectual merit and the artistic merit of Dickensian writing is reflected by the complexity and depth of his writing. So the writing of Dickens was very complex and very deep, and because of which it reflected the intellectual and artistic merit, and that made Dickens, his legacy, means here Dickens' legacy loomed very large in the horizon of Western literature. Means that made Dickens a very important figure in the field of Western literature. So both Edmund Wilson and George Orwell understood and acknowledged the greatness of Charles Dickens, though in their separate ways. One was interested in the political stance, another was interested in the emotional and psychic aspect of Dickens' writing. But both of them understood that Dickens was a great writer, and because his all his writings were very emotionally, intellectually stimulating and intellectually artistic, and as a result of which Dickens was a great figure in the Western literature. That is the opinion of both these writers. And here is a judgment that would have bewildered the grandees of the not so distant Bloomsbury generation. Means here is a judgment, means here is an opinion that would have bewildered, means confused. So this opinion might have confused the grandees. Grandees means the great men of the not so distant Bloomsbury generation. Bloomsbury generation means if you don't know about the literature, you can understand that some generation of another generation of writers, you can assume. But for your knowledge, Bloomsbury generation is a group of writers that emerged in England in the early part of 20th century, and they were called the Bloomsbury generation because all of them were living near Bloomsbury in London. So they were called the Bloomsbury generation. So this opinion or this judgment by Edmund Wilson and George Orwell would have confused the great writers of the Bloomsbury generation. Not so distant means they very near generation. And who are the main people of the Bloomsbury generation? Authorities like E.M. Foster and Virginia Woolf, and both of whom found Dickens characters of no psychological interest. So that is why this opinion might have confused these people. So writers like E.M. Foster and Virginia Woolf, who belonged to the Bloomsbury generation, they would have been confused or bewildered by the opinion expressed by Edmund Wilson and George Orwell, because both of them considered Dickens characters to be having no psychology. They don't consider them to be interesting. That is why they would have been confused by this opinion. And although Wolf did confess to a weakness for David Copperfield. So David Copperfield, if you don't know, it is a very significant novel by Charles Dickens. So Wolf did confess to him. So even though Wolf was not considering Charles Dickens to be a great writer, she found that she had a weakness for this particular novel, and she reluctantly acknowledged that we remodel our psychological geography when we read Dickens. So even though she had no particular interest in the psychological aspect of Dickens characters, in the case of David Copperfield, she made an exception. That is the meaning. So basically, the passage is talking about the opinion made by means George Orwell and Edmund Wilson regarding the writings of Charles Dickens, and both of them acknowledged that Charles Dickens was a great writer, but this opinion has confused the main writers of the Bloomsbury generation like E.M. Forster and Virginia Woolf, who had no great opinion about Charles Dickens. This is the meaning. So once you have break it up into a simple idea, you can easily go for the options and find the best option, which is a summary. Option A, Dickens' greatness was accepted and acknowledged by both Orwell and Wilson. True. However, his contemporaries such as Virginia Woolf and Foster appear to be confused about his literary talent. Can you, what is the mistake here? First mistake is contemporary. Contemporary means what? Any person who is living at the same period as another person is called a contemporary. So his contemporary means Charles Dickens contemporaries. So can you say that this Virginia Woolf and Foster are Charles Dickens contemporaries? No, absolutely not. Even Edmund Wilson and George Orwell are not his contemporaries, because they are writing 70 years after the death of Charles Dickens. So these people have written the essays 70 years after the death of Charles Dickens. So even they are not contemporary. So this Bloomsbury generation is a very near generation, or somebody who is living very not so distant. Bloomsbury generation means somebody who might have lived after George Orwell and Edmund Wilson. So definitely they cannot be the contemporaries of Charles Dickens. So that is the first mistake here, contemporaries. The second mistake is they appear to be confused about his literary talent. What is the passage saying? The passage saying is that Virginia Woolf and Forster have no great opinion about Charles Dickens, and what are they confused about his literary talent? No. What is the confusion? The confusion is here. Here is a judgment that would have bewildered the grandees of the not so distant Bloomsbury generation. So it is the judgment that is confusing this Virginia Woolf and Foster. It is not the literary talent. They are not having any confusion about the literary talent. It is their confusion is regarding the opinion expressed by Edmund Wilson and George Orwell. So here is a judgment that would have bewildered the grandees, means this opinion, judgment means opinion or a decision taken by Edmund Wilson and George Orwell, or you can say opinion by George Orwell and Edmund Wilson. This opinion has confused the big writers of the Bloomsbury generation. So they are, if they say, you say that they are confused by the literary talent of Charles Dickens, it is wrong. So two mistakes here, contemporaries and literary confusion. So that is why this is a wrong summary. Option B, essays by Orwell and Wilson showed that they both assumed Dickens' greatness. True, but the Bloomsbury writers appear confused by it. So again, the same issue. The Bloomsbury writers are not confused by the it means Dickens' greatness. Whenever you have a pronoun, always look at the noun that appears just before it. So the Bloomsbury writers appear confused by it. Confused, they see it is not confused by them. The confused by them means you can say it is about the essays, but it says confused by it. It means the greatness. So the Bloomsbury writers appear confused by it means they are appearing confused by the greatness of Charles Dickens. No, the Bloomsbury writers are confused by the opinion of Orwell and Wilson regarding the greatness of Charles Dickens. That is why this option is also not a correct summary. Option C, while Orwell and Wilson acknowledge the literary legacy of Dickens in their own divergent ways, in their own different ways, they understood that this Charles Dickens was a great writer. Yes, divergent ways means George Orwell was looking at the political and social aspect of Dickens' writing, whereas Edmund Wilson was looking at the emotional, psychic, and duality. So that is why divergent, different ways. In their own different ways, they understood that Charles Dickens was a great writer. The however means comma while while comma means however. So both of them acknowledge the greatness of Dickens in their different ways. However, the mainstays of the Bloomsbury generation, grandees means mainstays. Mainstays means the important people. So the important people of the Bloomsbury generation were apathetic towards him. Apathetic means apathy, lack of interest, not much interested. That is apathy. So apathetic towards him. Him means Charles Dickens, yet confused by the appreciation. So what is the meaning? So the main writers of the Bloomsbury generation, they were not interested in Dickens writing. That is why it says that both Virginia Woolf and E.M. Forster, both of whom found Dickens' character as of no psychological interest. Means they thought that these characters are not interesting at all. Means they were apathetic. Apathy means lack of interest. So the mainstays or the main writers of the Bloomsbury generation were not having any interest towards his writing. Him means towards Charles Dickens, yet confused by the appreciation. Appreciation means they were confused by the appreciation shown by Orwell and Wilson. That is what is given here. Here is a judgment that would have bewildered the grandees. Means the confusion by of Foster and Virginia Woolf is regarding the appreciation shown by Orwell and Wilson. So this is a good statement because it gives you all the aspects of the passage in a clear and correct way. So this should be a probable answer. Keep it in your mind. Option D, Foster and others of his generation have vehemently flayed the works. What is flaying? Criticizing. So vehemently flaying means severely criticizing the works of Dickens and hence confused by the appreciation. So it says that the Foster and others of his generation means the Bloomsbury generation, they have severely criticized the works of Dickens. Is it stated there? No, it is not stated that E.M. Foster, Virginia Woolf, or the Bloomsbury generation have severely criticized the works of Dickens. What it's only stated that is that they found him not very interesting, or they did not find his works very interesting. So it is the severe criticism that is given here is wrong. It is not stated in the passage. And another problem is, and hence confused by his appreciation, by the appreciation shown on him, showered on him by Orwell and Wilson. See the confusion of Virginia Woolf or E.M. Foster is not because of the criticism. We don't know. They are confused by the appreciation shown by Orwell and Wilson. That is true. But what is the reason for that confusion? We don't know. It might be because they found the characters to be not very psychologically interesting. But the passage says that it is because they were severely criticizing the works of Dickens. So this is wrong. Because this is wrong, this part is also wrong. So that is why this option is also not a good summary. So the only correct summary will be option C. All other summaries are wrong. These kind of questions are nowadays being asked in CAT and other management entrance examinations, where very minute reading and very critical analysis is required, which most people don't do, as a result of which they go wrong most of the time. That is why you need to be very careful in dealing with these kind of questions. That is why we are doing these kind of questions, so that your technique and skill becomes very good, so that you are not bothered by the complexity of the passage. You will be still be able to find the answer. Okay, go to the third question. Deliberation, discussion, thinking, that is deliberation. Then Occident, Countries in the Western Hemisphere are generally referred to as Occident, or countries in Europe, Americas, etc. They are generally referred to as the Occident, and countries in the Eastern Hemisphere, countries in Asia, they are generally referred to as the Orient. Amenable, suitable. Amenable means suitable. Differentiation, classification, or segregation, separation. And salutary, something that is beneficial. Advantageous or beneficial. Elucidate means to discuss in detail or to give you a detailed idea, that is elucidate. All right, so the passage is talking about the contribution of modern earth sciences in understanding why or how life has developed on earth. First, the passage talks about the eastern and western thinking on the earth, and it says that both the eastern and western principles say that earth is a representative of the whole universe and is set in dynamic motion. So this is already given in both eastern and western philosophy, and you don't have to further do any discussion. This is not a matter of deep discussion or deliberation, and both the theories have influenced each other in arriving at this idea. So both the western and eastern philosophies have helped each other in arriving at this particular idea that earth is a representative of the whole universe and it is set in dynamic motion. So this is there is no need to further discuss on that. But what it says, the advancement or the development of modern earth sciences has made us to understand the details regarding why earth has become suitable for life, or what is the speciality of earth which has made it suitable for life to develop. And what is that? It is the geochemical differentiation of earth into three different layers. So the surface of the earth has been classified into three different layers: the outer shell, which is called the crust, and the middle shell, which is called the mantle, and the inner shell, which is called the core. And this kind of segregation or separation of the earth's surface into three different layers, it is beneficial for earth. How it is beneficial? It is given in the passage, because of this differentiation or classification, it has produced a geomagnetic field, and this geomagnetic field is none of the other planets in the universe have this kind of well developed geomagnetic field. Some of them might be having the produced a as is been this has not happened in any other member of the solar family. Means this kind of development of geomagnetic field does not happen in any other planets or other members of the solar family. And if it had happened, it had not happened in the same way as it had been done in the earth. And as a result of this development of geomagnetic field, what has happened? It has helped earth to filter out the harmful x-rays coming from the sun, and this has resulted in the development of life on earth. This is the meaning, and in this sense, the importance of the generation of electromagnetic field on the earth is something superb. So this understanding is given to us by the development of modern earth sciences. So even before, through the Western and Eastern philosophy, we knew that earth is a representative or a part of the universe, and it is always in motion. But further knowledge regarding the how life developed on earth was given to us by the modern earth sciences, and it told us that the classification or separation of the earth's surface into three different layers have contributed to the development of a magnetic field, which has helped in filtering out the harmful x-rays. And that is how the life developed on earth, because if harmful x-rays were there, the life would not have happened on earth. So that is this geomagnetic field which led to the sort filtering of harmful x-rays has led to the development of life on earth. This is the meaning. Once you understand the meaning, the answer is very simple. A modern earth science has been able to elucidate. Elucidate means to discuss in detail the fact of how the electromagnetic field of the earth has allowed the filtration of harmful rays, thereby leading to life. Very good answer. It is giving you all the details in the passage. It is the only thing left out is the Eastern and Western philosophies. That is not very important, but all other things are there, and there is no inconsistency. So this can be a probable answer. Option B, Eastern and Western thinking have helped us to understand how the growth of life has occurred due to the geomagnetic field. Wrong, because Eastern and Western thinking has only helped us to understand that Earth is a representative of the whole universe and it is set in dynamic motion. That's all. Further knowledge regarding the growth of life as occurred due to the magnetic field is given to us by the modern earth sciences. So second statement, advancement in modern health sciences has something more to contribute in giving us the details of the earth, which made its frame suitable for life to enter. So modern earth sciences has told us how life became earth became suitable for life. That knowledge is given to us by modern earth science, not by Eastern and Western thinking. So this is wrong. Option C, Eastern and Western thoughts on the movement of the earth supplemented by modern earth science have led to the geomagnetic field being produced. What is the meaning here? It says that it is because of the Eastern and Western thoughts and the modern earth science which was responsible for the geomagnetic field being produced. Means if the Eastern and Western thoughts were not there, and if the modern earth science was not there, this geomagnetic field would not have been produced. Wrong. Geomagnetic field is already there. It is the modern earth science has only helped us to understand about the importance of geomagnetic field. It is not that the modern earth science has produced was responsible in producing the geomagnetic field. Again, wrong. So that is why this is not a good answer. Option D, geomagnetic field has allowed the growth of humans on earth, and this is due to modern earth science. Again, the same mistake that is there in option C, means the geomagnetic field is due to modern earth sciences. Science is a science which helps us to understand the existence of geomagnetic field. It is not that the modern earth science is responsible for the geomagnetic field. Because of the science, we are able to understand the phenomena that are there in the universe. Geomagnetic field is one such phenomena, and modern earth science is able to helping us to understand that. Whereas this option is saying that geomagnetic field developed because of modern earth science, which again is wrong. So both options C and D are having the same kind of error. Option B is having a different kind of error. So all three are wrong options. They are not the correct summaries. Option A is the only correct summary here. So this should be your answer. I hope this is clear again. See, in many cases, what is happening is that most of the people, when they read the passage, they think that it is complex, and they will not, they will either make a half-hearted attempt or they will not attempt at all. See, always you should develop your reading skill so that you are able to read the different types of passages available: philosophic, scientific, technical, political, all these kind of passages you should be able to read and understand. And once you understand that, your answer becomes clear because you already have the technique. The only problem is in comprehension. So comprehension means you need to develop your reading skills so that your reading comprehension improves. Once you have that, your whatever skills you already have in so finding the summaries, you will be able to apply only if your comprehension is correct. So give more attention to your reading comprehension. then the development of techniques, and combining both, you should be able to attempt all the RC questions without a problem. Oh, I hope you have found the video to be useful and informative. If you have found it good, please try to share, subscribe, and like, and try to maximize the reach, try to popularize the channel so that I'll get motivated to bring further videos on all aspects of ERC and interview preparation for CAT and other management entrance examinations. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.